Great webinar, great topic today. That was really, really cool. We got to share some, we're teasing the boot camp a little bit, the first ever HGA boot camp, April 4th and 5th. We're teasing some of the content out, and we did that with episode 104 of the free webinar series today. It was really, really awesome. We had our friend Amy Myers on, and I learned a lot about underwriting opportunities. I always learn when we talk to her, and I have some notes, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah.
So, but
Well, one thing I thought
how
was
are you
really
doing, brother?
the thing I thought was really interesting about that, we did the little poll, and and those numbers are 25% of the people, the professionals that were on the webinar, reported that they are only doing sponsors. They're just selling tables and tickets.
Correct. So there's a massive opportunity there.
50% said that they were just using underwriting to cover expenses, and only 25% said they were making money on it. And I thought that was the biggest deal of all, is that 75% are either losing out on, or just using it to break even. They're not using it as a revenue generator. And I thought that was kind of the big deal to me today was, all this underwriting and work, and I would, I just think that if you were to go down and ask some more questions of the folks that were either just selling tables and sponsorship, or just selling tables and tickets, or just breaking even with their expenses, you would find that they're not raising near as much money as they could, and they're gambling, for the lack of a better word, on what happens at the night of the event. They really don't know what they're going to do until the event's over.
Totally. It's a massive opportunity. That was one giant takeaway that I had. And I implore people that are listening to this that might fall in that category that Jason was just describing, where they're not utilizing the underwriting opportunities that are out there. They're an opportunity. That's exactly what they are. Also, I've heard you say this 100 times. I've heard you say it once. Amy corroborates this, does this to great success. Underwrite everything.
Yeah. Right? Well, but there's two parts to that. I think, we talk about what you can do, but then you have to do.
Totally.
It's not just so simple though as saying we're going to put this out there. It's picking up the phone, it's getting your contacts, your board, your committee to make those connections. One of the things that came up today too was about, well, who do we find to ask?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, number one, you ask everybody.
Yeah.
Number two, you got to get up off your tuchus and start making calls. And that's I really think that's probably where the biggest issue lies most of the time. Number one, either, you've got a disinterested board, unmotivated board. Maybe the same thing with your committee. I think it falls on the nonprofit professionals a lot of times. I think it falls on their shoulders. Well, I know it falls on their shoulders to get it all done, but I think the blame falls on their shoulders as well. And I've got a hypothesis on that. Okay. And you tell me what you think, because this is something that you and I work really hard not to do, because we kind of fall into this category of this, that this happens with. Well, hey, I'll take care of that. I'll do it. I'll take that on. And I think a lot of times nonprofit professionals, whether you're executive director, the CEO, whatever, director of development, staff member, and you start thinking, well, I'll just do that. I'll make that deal for you.
Yeah.
Well, once you do that a few times, everybody just assumes you're going to do it.
All bets are off.
And then all of a sudden you've got a stack of work you've piled all this work on yourself, and you can't do it, and especially not effectively. And so a lot of things start falling through, and you start negotiating with yourself saying, well, I could have done that. I need to really make some calls, but I've got these other things I've got to do. And it just piles up.
So you're saying to lean on your committee a little bit more in that scenario?
I think you need, it needs to go around who's going to do it.
Right.
And, and one of the most interesting things that you can find out what's going to really, if you really want to, and I think a lot of times we don't want to know, we don't really want to know the truth, but we need to. And the truth being, well, I'll just give you an example. I'm sitting here doing a people exercise with a group, with a committee. We're going around the room getting all these names, and we've got this really good list. And one of the guys that was given, he's just rolling out names left and right. And then we said, hey, okay, well, oh wait, whose was this? This is yours, John. I don't remember what his name was, but this is yours, John. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to call that person? He goes, oh, whoa, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Well, I never say anything about calling anybody.
I just know the guy. Yeah,
I
right
said,
on the
"Well, why
guy.
wouldn't you? You're the one that has the relationship." "Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but because of my business, I wouldn't want them thinking." I'm like, "Hold on a minute, then why are you here?" And I said that in the committee. Now I'm just the guy that's just in there kinda helping them
You had nothing to
put this
lose,
together.
right? Yeah.
And I said, "Well, why are you here?" And he kinda I mean, I can tell you he got it jacked him up a little bit. He kind of
Yeah,
it
ruffled his
flustered
feathers.
him.
Yeah.
And of
Huh.
course, a couple other people were in the room, the executive director and the director of development were like, "Oh," kinda like,
Jason
"Oh, what
said
has he done?"
what? The record went,
And I just said, I said, and I mean this with all due respect. I said, I
Yeah.
am absolutely, and I'm not, but I said, then why are you here in the committee?
Mhm.
They don't need anybody else telling them what to do. I said, that's what happens. I said, if we're not working, then we're just advising. And if we're
We need
advising,
your
then
help, brother.
yeah,
Yeah.
we need workers, not chiefs. And it was a really interesting turn that did. And, I think he was taken a little bit aback. I think that it was very uncomfortable. And then the most miraculous thing came out of that. He said, well, I guess I could make a couple of calls.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. That's why you're here, because you can do this. I said, you're the guy that has a
Yeah.
relationship. I
Come
said,
on,
there's
man.
not one of your people are going to sit there and go, well, now I said, what might make him uncomfortable is if you give him my name for me to call him.
Right.
That's going to be a lot less comfortable than if you call
They
him and
don't
say,
know
hey,
me, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, then if they sit there and go, "Hey, I'm on this committee. We're
yeah.
raising some money for a great cause, and I think you would be great. This would
Yeah.
match with what you're doing. I'd just like to shoot you over an email with some
Well,
opportunities to help." I don't think that's never I've never been offended by that, because
it's,
you're not leveraging me. You're just asking me, would you take a look at it?
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah,
but the
you're not calling with with any
yeah
expectation. Of course you want some help. It's my favorite thing to say right now, Jason, but you were talking about people call it setting boundaries or having an uncomfortable conversation. I call it lately, be kind yet firm. And you were firm.
yeah
You
yeah.
have no ill intent. You have no ill intent. And, the gentleman, snapped back and said,
Well,
"You know
he
what? I can
responded
do
to it.
that. I can do
Well,
that."
and I
Yeah.
think what happens is we get in this deal. I don't want to put, and I've just been around it long enough. I don't want to
Mhm.
offend the board member. I don't want to offend the committee
Mm.
member. Well, you're not offending him. It's not to trying to offend. And if you're trying not to, you're probably going to offend him anyway. If
Mhm.
you're worried about offending somebody that you can't ask them to do a simple thing like, do their job, the reason that they're on the committee and the board in the first place, then you're probably gonna offend them anyway. And I think that's what happens, so they just don't do anything. They take the nonprofit professional takes it all upon themselves. They're sitting
Totally.
there doing that, and then they get overwhelmed
They're on an
because
island.
they're burnt
Yep.
out and everything. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
So we've established that we definitely want to implore the help of the committee, and we should be doing that more.
They're not there to tell you what to do. This is
Mm,
one of the things I
this is
think that
interesting. Rip off the Band-Aid.
this gets so confusing by so many people so many times.
Right.
They call it a committee. Well, the fundraising committee. Well, yeah, they're there to give some input and some feedback, but they're not there to tell the director of development or the executive director or the staff
Marching
what
orders.
to
Yeah.
do. That's not
Yeah.
what their job is.
That's not their job. Yeah.
But it happens all the time because you hear somebody go, "Well, let me
They
take this to
allow
my
it though.
committee. Let me take this to my committee. Well, let me see what the committee says. Let's see what the committee." And
They
it's
do
one of
hear
two
that a
things.
lot.
It's either one, they don't want to make a decision, or it's a cop out,
Mm, they
or
defer.
or they've allowed this change in dynamics to happen where the committee is, you're the paid person. You're the person that's been paid, duly paid by the board if you're the
Do you
executive
think
director.
do you think the development of directors or whoever's in charge, CEO, whoever it might be, they do that because it defers the blame. It defers that decision making.
No, I think that they're
They don't
scared
like
to
the pressure.
I think they're scared to death they're gonna piss somebody off, and somebody's gonna go to the
Okay.
board, or somebody's gonna
Someone
go
hurt someone's
something,
feelings.
and
Yeah.
somebody's gonna yeah, I do. I really think that
Yeah.
they walk around on eggshells all the time. I've
That's a
seen them
tough position to
I've
be
had
in.
yeah, but if they don't have to be.
No, I agree.
They
I
don't
agree.
but
I
they don't
agree.
have
Yeah.
to, and I think that's
Agreed.
because they're making an assume they're assuming that's what it is on their
Mm-hmm.
own, and that's not the case. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
occasionally, somebody's gonna get upset and call you in there, and they wanna talk to you about something, but if you're mission focused, if you've got a plan, you've got,
Mm-hmm.
goals and objectives, and you're working to create those goals and objectives,
Mm-hmm.
then you can do it. Now, if it's just, well, whatever, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, if you notice something that Amy talked about, as
Mm-hmm.
a national organization, when she has her staff going around to all over the country. and they have a committee. Yeah, they give the committee, here's your parameters of decisions you get to make within the context
Yes.
of the MDA. For them, it's the MDA. So this is the way we raise money. This is
She
how
lays
we
those
do it.
boundaries down
Yeah.
quick and early,
Yeah,
early and
they
often.
say
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
where you do, like,
Mhm.
we are going to make money on this. We're not going to do
Mhm.
this for nothing.
Mhm.
We're here to raise money. It's a charity. We're here to raise money. We're going to raise money. And
Yep.
so, they give that, and I think it releases, for the lack of a better term,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
power of the committee, the power of the board to go and do what they're supposed to do.
Not in closing or anything like that, but another key component of the conversation we had, and just something that people need to hear, I think, is the flexibility of underwriting. And when we ask underwriters and things to make donations, obviously, and to sponsor certain aspects of the event and underwrite certain aspects of the event, what was interesting to me
Yeah.
is be flexible. It's okay to negotiate. I've heard you say this. I've heard Amy say this. We talk
Mhm.
about this, and I think it's right. I think it's in line with what people need to hear. And what was interesting to me is that Amy used an example of a real live event, and you have examples and real life examples for doing this yourself as well. Is hey, we needed $25,000 for a fixed cost, and we knew we couldn't get someone to flip the bill for all 25K, so we chopped it up into $5,000 installments, and we asked 5 different organizations to underwrite, and we still got our 25K. So I'm just saying, you have the bandwidth to be flexible is another is a with your underwriting offers,
Mhm. Yeah.
right, to these
Yeah.
high net worth individuals and companies and different foundations that you're asking money out of,
Well,
right?
well, yeah, you've got the flexibility to do that. But the other thing that she said, I think this is one where nonprofit, a lot of times nonprofit staff
Hmm.
forget about this, is she said, we go back to what we've done in the past.
Okay.
Let's go
Yeah.
back and see where we're at. What have we done? If
Don't
we've,
forget the math, you
now,
say. Don't
if it's the
forget the
first time
math.
you're doing it, or you've never done it, well, that it creates a different deal. But you can
Right.
kind of figure out, well, you know what? We sold 10 tables for $10,000, one table at
Hmm.
25,000, and 10 at 2,500. So you kind of can take some averages there. Take the
Hmm.
25 out, sit there and go, okay, we know we're about 7,500 is kind of where
Yeah.
the number is.
Yeah.
Do some really simple math, and that kind of tells you, okay, well, that's kind of where we know where people like to be. They like to be in that
Hmm.
2,500 to $10,000 range.
That's
Okay.
our sweet spot. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it gives you an idea of how you can do a little research, so you're not just going into it blind, wondering what somebody can or can't do, but just
Yeah.
knowing where that comfort level is going to be for them, so they can say yes. You're going into them asking for $50,000, and they're a $2,500 or a $5,000 donor level.
There you go.
You're going to you're going to blow their hair back a little bit. And I'm
Okay,
all for
another
asking for more money, but
totally. No, you're always nudging people to do that. I think that's awesome, and people need to hear it. Another big aha moment from our conversation was, if you have high net worth individuals that are underwriters, they own companies, they have vendors, they have colleagues, they have partners. Underwriters should also be invited to attend. That was something that seems pretty obvious to me, but it's something that we don't discuss very often. Speak to me about
well
that.
well, so let me give you an example of how I think that goes.
Yeah.
So I pick the phone up, and we're reaching out to you, and let's just say that you're the president of a bank, and you guys say, yeah, we want to sponsor this, and we're going to do that. We're sponsoring at a $5,000 level. Let's just an example. And it
Mhm.
comes with a table, and it just goes through the stuff, and
Mhm.
you take your tickets, your 8 tickets, and you just go down and give them to everybody in the lobby, all the tellers and stuff like that, because you guys were asked,
Yeah,
you made
you're
the
being
gift.
kind. Yeah.
But asked to attend is this: if I pick up the phone and I go, hey, Trevor, hey, I know you guys are sponsoring, so thank you so much, but I'm just asking
Mhm.
if you and Shelby and some of your rich, make sure you guys come. Sure like to see you there. And, this is my personal invitation for you to come represent your bank, and also, bring some of your folks. This is a really important mission. I'd like to, just have you guys make sure you're going to be there yourself.
Mhm.
That's a different ask than just,
Yeah,
okay, whatever.
totally.
And,
It's
and I,
deliberate. There's intention
well,
behind it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because it's personal, and maybe you
Yeah.
have somebody from the committee reach out and say, "Hey, Trevor, I know you guys are sponsored, but we just want to make sure you guys come. We'd really like for
Yeah,
y'all to be here."
totally.
And
And I
that
know you
goes,
know this company, and I know you know that company, so,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Absolutely. That
it
makes total
just,
sense.
you get them there because number 1, you want them to see what's going on, see who all's there. They may not buy anything. They may or may not, but, they're attached to they get attached to the mission, and you made that personal invitation versus, "Well, let's just see what happens."
I think it's great. It's a conversation that we're going to keep having. If you're not, like Jason said, I mean, we did a poll on with real live webinar attendees, and some folks are just leaving money on the table, right? That's what we don't want to
Yeah,
see.
I just
The
yeah, and
opportunities
well,
there,
and I
you
think
know?
it just goes back to that deal about, having a plan and how you're going to go about it because a lot of times the pace of life, the pace of the world and everything like that, especially maybe you're a smaller staff, you don't have a well developed committee or board, and it comes up time for the event and you're just like, okay, well, we got, we're trying to get 300 people here, and
Right.
we've got 40 tables and we're going to get those tables sold, and we're hoping for the best, and it
Yeah.
kind of gets that way. It's the work before the event that matters, that really matters and
Absolutely.
makes it success. You can have, the best items, the best auctioneer, but if you don't have anybody there in the room to buy the stuff, it doesn't matter.
Totally. No, I think it's great, man. I think it's great feedback. You and Amy are experts about underwriting and sponsorships, and I think
Well,
it's lovely.
I would say
I
she is. I've just observed a lot, and but
Yeah,
she's a really,
we're just
really
passing the information. We're passing the
um,
information along.
well,
Well,
she's a
she's
prolific
also
fundraiser. I mean, let's
she's
just
one of
give
the
it up to
best in
her.
the world. She's also, yeah, she's one of the best in the world, and one of the best that we've ever seen. And we're so gracious and so grateful that she's a friend of ours. And if you want to hear more, everyone, don't just listen to episode 104 of the HGA Free Webinar Series. Come to the first ever HGA boot camp, April 4th and 5th in Dallas. It's going to be in Richardson, Texas, but in the Dallas Fort Worth area. You don't have to be from the Dallas Fort Worth area to attend. It's the first ever HGA boot camp, April 4th and 5th. You can go to hgafundraising.com to sign up. Only costs $300. It's going to cover your room, board, everything. World class speakers, world class fundraisers,
And this is not
and
just one where you sit down and get preached to. This is actually a workshop that we're gonna go through the process and how you do it, and you're gonna leave with 5 different fundraisers and all the skills and the processes of how to fulfill those and make them successful fundraisers.
absolutely. It's going to be full immersion. Not like any fundraising workshop that you've ever witnessed, attended to. No offense to those, but you're going to learn how to fundraise the HGA way. And we're pretty proud of it. It's going to be really, really cool. So sign up. Hey, if you got anything out of this episode, do us a favor, rate, review, download, subscribe, share with someone in your network, share with a friend. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much, brother. That was awesome.
Peace out.